Hello and welcome to the What If South is Up podcast, where we talk about the ups and downs of creating worlds from scratch and all the misadventures we experience along the way. In a nutshell, how to wing it like an author. I'm Derrick Hall, author and creator of the Crimson Prophecy series, of which Book 1 is available on Amazon, as well as the prequel, The Trials of Tiarsis, and Book 2 is done. It is drafted, it is finished, now I just have to edit it.
You're a stud.
But how are you?
Not a stud. So, in case you don't know, my name is Christina, but I go by Xtina. So I'm Christina Lefebvre, and I am writing a book I have not finished. I am not as accomplished as my co-host here. Not yet, anyways. I will be soon. And the name of
It's a process.
It is a friggin' process. And the name of my work in process is Cogs and Arrows.
Awesome. So, Christina, what have you been reading or watching since we last spoke?
So you sent me a book. Thank you very much. I haven't gotten too far in it, but what I read of it I really liked, which was, what was it called? The Six of Cups. Is that correct?
Yeah, Six of Cups by Meg Lindsay.
Yes, I'm really enjoying it. I haven't gone too deep into it, but I'm looking forward to getting back into reading it. I really appreciated being a quote-unquote professional, and yes, I am doing the rabbit ear things. Professional tarot reader. I actually thought a lot of her insights were spot on. I'm pretty impressed. So either she's a reader or she's a really good researcher.
Right. I'm not entirely sure which. I actually forgot to ask her because she is a friend of mine and one of my critique people that I hang out with all the time. And I really enjoyed that. That was it. It's a novella, so it's about 75, 80 pages. It's not super long, but it's really good. So anybody interested in that, go pick it up. It's cheap on Kindle. Six of Cups by Meg Lindsay. And it's actually a lot of fun. And I will link that for sure.
Yep. Other than that, I just finished up the TV series. So other than the Six of Cups book that I was reading, your first one, the Ketra Odyssey, which I'm a very poor partner because I haven't finished yet, but I'm enjoying that one. But no spoilers, so I'm not going to say anything. And
I think you've probably read most of it in bits and pieces.
So it's fun to put them together. I got to tell you, that's fun. And I am watching, as you suggested in the last episode, Lied to Me, and I'm loving it. It's been great. And what are you reading or writing? Or no, reading or watching?
Well, I'm not writing anything at the moment.
Because you finished, yes!
Oh, I know. It's such a relief. Such a relief. I had expected to need like 3 or 4 more chapters, and I finished the chapter I was on and went, nope, that's it. That's the end.
Good.
This is good. Anything else would just throw it off. So, super stoked. But I'm giving that a rest for a little bit. And I've been reading and watching. I watched a movie this week with the kid that he had zero interest in, but I actually was pleasantly surprised by, and that is Slumberland.
Oh, actually, that's on my 2BW list.
It's so good!
Is it?
It's really good. I was expecting a goofy kids movie, and it has the same sort of surprisingly poignant and relatable story to it as the Lego Movie.
Which I haven't seen.
Oh, that's another one you need to watch. It's super good.
I love kid movies.
The original Lego Movie, not Batman or any of the others, but the original Lego Movie is actually really good. And there's a lot more to it than you expect. And that's the way this was. It was very... very good. Very good. I don't want to spoil anything, but if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It is well worth it, and it's not just a goofy kids movie.
Perfect.
And I'm still reading the never-ending sci-fi epic that is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini, because it never ends. It's so good, and I'm enjoying it. I have some quibbles with it as a writer that I probably wouldn't have had if I wasn't a writer, but I really like it. It's just really long. It could have easily been 2 or 3 books instead of just one.
So isn't it interesting that as we get deeper and deeper into becoming a writer, an author, that kind of thing, how we see books and stories differently?
Yeah, you really do. Because with film and TV, it's a little bit different because that's a whole different ballgame as far as writing goes compared to books or novels or even graphic novels. But the reading books, especially by people that I have held in such high esteem as Christopher Paolini for most of my life, especially now, which he doesn't have a whole lot out there. He's got, I think, 6 books out and another one coming in the spring in this sci-fi series. I love his fantasy stuff. I've loved his fantasy stuff since I was like 14. The sci-fi stuff, I love it too because it's him and it's his tone and his writing, and I appreciate that. But I'm looking at it now, especially the sci-fi stuff, and going, dude, but why?
Yeah.
Which sounds harsh, but I'm still enjoying it, so that's what matters, right?
That is what matters.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many ways you can cram a bunch of people into a spaceship for 1,000 pages.
All right, what's next on the agenda?
Oh, what are you drinking? Everyone knows we like our alcohol around here, so what do you have tonight?
We all have our coping mechanisms.
We're writers, we have to drink.
I wish that were an ironclad rule so I could blame it on writing. Anyways, I'm once again drinking my Naughty Elf.
Hey, there you go. I went a little bit off script.
You did not.
I did. I went off script.
Yeah. Tell.
I have apple pie moonshine. Straight from the freezer.
Straight?
Straight.
Wow.
It's good stuff.
So are you talking about like the moonshine brand, right?
This is because my source for the real thing moved away.
Yeah.
This is Midnight Moon apple pie moonshine.
Because when I'm at the liquor store buying my liquor, because in New Hampshire, you can't buy it in a grocery store or 7-Eleven or anything. You have to go to the liquor store.
Yeah, you have to do that here, too.
Yeah. Right next to the register is the shelving for the moonshine brand. And I've thought about trying something. They actually have a pickle moonshine that I wanted to try to figure out how to use in something.
Make your pickles in it.
Make my pickles in it?
But take that, put pickling spice in it, and stick some cucumbers in it. And you will have boozy pickles come summer.
That is... Actually, it comes with pickles. It's pickles in the pickle moonshine.
Okay. Because the one we have here is just... It's like dill flavored.
I'll have to double check. But that's not germane to our conversation tonight, right?
No, it's not. This isn't ideal, but they had a little, like, sampler pack of the Midnight Moon. It was, like, 4 or 5 different flavors when I went in there. For the holidays, they had this little pack, and I picked it up, because why not?
I'll have to go look to see if mine has it.
Yeah, they're in little baby mason jars, too, which is super cute.
Yes, I'll have to go see. I'm going tomorrow. It's on my to-do list now.
Yep, do it. It's good stuff.
Notes taken.
But yes, I have gone off book, and am drinking straight moonshine.
Is it any reason why we have a podcast together?
It's an excuse to drink.
And stay up late for me.
Yep, me too. All right, last week we started a new segment, and I think we're going to keep it going because we had a lot of fun with it. And we're calling it Darlings, Dead or Alive. Every episode, Christina and I will bring one line, and one line only, from our stories, books, works in progress, dreams, whatever it is. One line that we have written and that we have loved. Could be ones that we had to kill off, ones that we're proud of, but either way, we're going to share them with pride or embarrassment with no context. So, Christina, what do you have for us?
Okay, here goes. Elder Blackberry folded his wings back in and cleared his throat and said, "In a village containing more ears than distractions, rumors tend to fly faster than a falcon caught on a westerly wind. So I have little doubt that each of you has already heard something about our midnight visitor."
Ooh, ominous.
Isn't that awesome?
And very descriptive. Well done.
It's awesome. I love this line.
Isn't that great? No, I like that a lot.
And
I can just picture some, like, hunchbacked old man standing in front of a bunch of people saying that. That's awesome.
Oh, I want to tell you more, but we said no context, so that's...
Nope, no context. I'm just telling you where my brain took me.
And what do you have for us?
I really like this one. I like this one way too much. And it's fresh. It is from this week, which means it is toward the end of book 2, and that's if it stays there. So, you ready?
Eagerly awaiting.
Okay. It took only moments for her eyes to glaze over, replaced by the endless hollow stare only known to the dead and those closest to them.
Whoa.
Dun dun dun!
Whoa. That's pretty intense.
Yeah, I like that line way too much.
Wow, I like that. And it's at the end. Woo, baby.
Mm-hmm. Well, toward the end.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Because I write in a very linear fashion, so if I wrote it recently, it's going to be toward the end since I just finished the book. But that's neither here nor
there.
Yeah. Okay. Are you ready for What If?
Let's do What If.
All right. For anyone unfamiliar, we have a list of topics for this segment, and they're all questions that begin with what if, referring to world building or lore or things like that related to our fantasy worlds. I will roll a d20, ever the D&D player, and pick randomly, on air, a question from this list. So, tonight's roll is going to get re-rolled because it fell off my desk.
I'm holding my breath.
Tonight's roll is a 17. What if magic suddenly appeared in a world without it?
So, I like this because I'm thinking about the fact that in my story, my parallel Earth, which is called Cobb, has always had magic in it. On Earth, however, magic died. So I'm wondering if I could, in the future, write a book in this world kind of thing, where suddenly Earth now regained its magic. I'm thinking more of an urban context, right? Not knights and wizards, but in a fairly modern context.
Yeah.
What would suddenly happen? What would happen if magic suddenly appeared? I guess the question would be, before I can answer the question, is it suddenly only certain people have magic? Or suddenly everyone can access magic? Because I think that's a different question.
Am I making a judgment call here?
No, I was being rhetorical.
Okay.
So for my answer, I'm going to say that what happens on Earth is that suddenly people start being born with magical abilities. Kind of X-Men kind of thing. But I think that the first generation of these kids that are born with magic would be ostracized, feared. I think it would be really difficult for them.
You can see more than a few supervillains popping up.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Totally agree with that. Because of the way they're treated because of their abilities. But I think it would take at least... So, in general, generations are about 22 years long. So, I would say that about after 22 years old, when they finally figure out that every single child is being born with magic, things will change, meaning how people feel about magic. I think for that first generation, there's going to be laws against using it. And then after 20 or 30 years, there'll be laws about regulating it. And then maybe after 40 or 60 years, there'll be laws about how to treat it. So I think it would be a really interesting story. So it doesn't apply to my world it doesn't apply to my world directly. But I think it applies to my world building because it gives me a new story idea for when I run out of all the others for Cobb, that I can now come back to Earth and start introducing magic. I think this is fairly fascinating. And I like the political / legal ramifications from it appearing slowly.
Right. I think it would definitely cause issues at first. I don't think there's any way around that. Anything new is scary. So I think you made a good point with X-Men, because that would kind of sum up your first few generations, in that people will be feared, ostracized, studied, You'll end up with some lab rats. You'll end up with some villains. You'll end up with some heroes. And I think depending on the prevalence of it, you're going to end up with a lot of, well, maybe not a lot, but you could definitely end up with some like upstart religions and things like that too.
Yes.
Have some random cults coming out of nowhere because, oh, hey, look at me. I can teleport you across the world. I must be God. And
I mean, Jim Jones, his whole cult thing didn't last but like 12 years, right? From the point that he started getting his first followers until he killed them all off. So if you can imagine, these people are born with a magical ability that nobody else has. Oh my gosh. There's going to be a lot of religious uproar. Fervor. Thank you. There's going to be a lot of religious fervor. Yes.
Well, as far as this would affect my world, there is an artifact that releases magic into the atmosphere, the ether, the universe, whatever.
The ether, yep.
The ambient location. I don't know. Words aren't working. But there's an artifact that emits magical power. And it's just there. So anybody who is sensitive to it can learn how to use it. But that artifact, several thousand years before Book 1, Catcher in Odyssey, was shattered. And over time, it grew weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker, and to the point where basically there was no magic left. People thought it was a myth, except for a very, very small subset of people who were strong enough to still sense the remnants and still be able to use it.
So
I'm not going to explain how or why, but it is back to full strength, and anybody could sense it, access it, use it at this point. And that's actually kind of a big part of Book 2, so I'm not going to go super into it, but the magic is back and people can use it, and most people thought that it wasn't real. So it kind of did come out of nowhere, at least for those people.
My question to you is, if you were to write a prequel, and a prequel, where did this artifact come from, and how did your world react when it first got there?
Also briefly addressed in Book 2.
Oh.
At least by way of cultural myth. Let's put it that way. So by way of cultural myth, it fell from the sky and brought a certain people group with it, and it fundamentally changed the world. To the point that without this artifact or object, the world would be unrecognizable to what it is now. I don't know why I'm talking with my hands. This is an audio podcast.
I enjoy the idea that myths revolve. So a truth happens, stories are written, myths are created, and myths fade away. And then it starts over again. So myths are cyclical, if you will. So
yes,
I like the idea of your world where just at the moment the people are forgetting the inception, the beginning. Something happens. Something happens to say, here we go again. And then that cycle starts all over again. That, to me, is absolutely fascinating.
Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
But what happens when history's forgotten, right? We've had the scholars, and they've all died away, and the scholars of the scholars have died away, and now it's starting up again.
Well, the repetition doesn't stop. People are people. They're going to make the same mistakes. They're going to be greedy. They're going to hate other people for no reason other than that they look different, and that's just how it is, and that's how it's always been.
So I think what you're saying is that magic in your world,
yes,
was the catalyst for what? When magic appeared in your world, did the people become better for it?
That would very much depend on who you ask. In some ways, yes. The world became better for it. The people, maybe not. But it depends on who you ask.
So when you say...
There's multiple sides to every story, so...
When you say the world became better for it, do you mean the standard of living?
I mean the world itself.
Huh.
as in the planet, the environment, the natural setting became better for it. Some people also became better for it. Those who learned to use the magic and that sort of thing, they obviously became better for it because they could use that to improve their lives. But it also creates tensions, strife, power struggles, general dislike of other people because they have more toys than I do. That sort of thing. And what started as a good thing actually ends up turning into a curse of sorts. So the way I have it in my book, I was talking about history being cyclical, and if you don't learn from it, you're going to repeat it. That object falling from the sky and the people it brought with it is the beginning of that cycle. So that is the beginning of the never-ending cycle of war, peace, famine, plenty. Everybody gets along, everybody hates each other. That just keeps going around and never ends. So
as I'm listening to you and thinking about this question, it occurs to me that the story I'm currently writing does have this element to it. So let me explain.
It's such a good element to build on, though.
What else can you do? I mean, all stories about change. You have to change something. Mm-hmm. So in my world, everybody has a magical ability to the effect that it's not even called magic. It's just everyone has this ability, has some kind of ability, at least one. Most people have 2 or 3. My main character has a magical ability that's never been seen before because a meteorite hit the planet. And
that sounds familiar.
Right? But how I don't want it to be too familiar, right? But the reasoning is that this meteorite emanates a certain vibration. And in my world, everybody has everybody has an affinity. There's 9 affinities, and depending upon what your affinity is, the closer you are to that affinity, the more powerful your ability is. So somebody is, if they have an affinity of seawater, the closer they are to the ocean, the more powerful their ability is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it all has to do with vibrations.
Are they good vibrations, though?
Good vibrate. What? There's a song. There is a song, right? Good vibration. I'm not a singer, obviously.
Yeah, there's a song. It was a bad joke.
In any case,
yeah, and for the record, I'm sorry to interrupt, but for the record, we did not at all plan that our stories both involve meteorites or celestial bodies crashing to Earth.
We did not, but it must be in the air.
It happened.
In the air.
All right, somebody tell Phil Collins he has royalties to collect now. Anywho, I think it's a really interesting way of looking at a story to see the cyclical nature of history and then to apply that to a fiction, because that's how the world works. Everything comes around again.
Everything, yes, it does come around again.
Not to invoke the crown disease, but there's, I guess, a virus, the crown virus. Go look at history. Like clockwork, there's a pandemic or a plague X number of years for as far back as anyone can remember. It's just how it works.
You know,
everything is cyclical.
People aren't listening this for a dose of reality.
I know, but reality is what informs a good story.
Reality.
If you can't put a decent foundation under, I don't know, your hallucinations, then it's not going to hold up.
Well,
there has to be something to ground a story in reality.
I think also that you were right. I agree totally 100%. But as the saying goes, any good lie has a nugget of truth.
Yes.
So any good
fantasy absolutely
has a foundation of reality.
Yes. And one of my favorite things is in reading fantasy and sci-fi somewhat as well, but that's a little more on the obvious side. But with fantasy, I like finding that nugget of truth. I like finding out where that real world rock is that they built their story on top of. It gives you an insight into the author, it gives you an insight into the era in which it was written, and it gives you an insight into a lot of things. So, like, if you go back and look at Tolkien, and Lord of the Rings in particular, a lot of that is a young and naive boy going away to war, seeing a lot of terrible stuff, doing some awesome stuff, and then coming back to a home that isn't the same. Hey, guess what? Tolkien was a young and naive boy who got shipped off to France in World War I, saw a lot of terrible stuff, did some pretty incredible stuff. He had medals for valor, and returned home to Birmingham, England, to find his idyllic country green farmland home had turned into a soot-blackened industrial powerhouse. It's not that subtle.
So... It's not, you're right, it's not that subtle, and I find that intriguing, but I think, no buts. And I would also think that when somebody goes off onto their quest and they come back, even if their real world didn't change a nickel, they changed. So the perspective of it is totally changed.
And it's all just layers. It's like paint on an old house. The more you scrape, the more layers you find. So, it could be, your hero goes to war and comes back and everything seems different when it's actually not, and it's them that's different. Or it could be more of a Tolkien situation where quite literally they come back and home is different. And your hero is also different.
So I'm going to flip this question for my world and say, what would happen in my world, that I'm writing, in the world that I'm writing in, if suddenly magic broke?
I feel like a lot of your world would collapse.
Right? Back to caveman days?
I don't think it would necessarily collapse that far, but I think a lot of your more heavily populated areas, your cities, that sort of thing, would collapse.
So I'm going to say, I'm just going to close this out by saying that I think that if magic suddenly disappeared from my world, in a world, in a setting that is mostly mostly developed into an atheist type of agnostic type of spiritualism, I think that it would collapse into a rigid religious opportunity for some.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that for sure. That topic had a few rabbit holes in it, huh?
It had rabbit holes.
It had rabbit holes, but that's what we do here. So I think that's going to do us for tonight. Just want to wish happy holidays to everybody listening. We're coming up on Christmas here pretty quick, and you have a lot of other things going on, Hanukkah and all of that good stuff. So whatever you celebrate, I hope you enjoy it, and we will see you guys next year. If you want to find me online, I'm Derrick Hall, and I can be found at derrickHallAuthor.com or in most places at dhallauthor. And Christina, what about you?
You can find me on almost every platform as Uniquely Xtina, except for TikTok. I actually have two, Uniquely Xtina, where I get to be my witchy, weird, liberal self, and then CX Lefebvre author on TikTok, where I'm trying to narrow it to just very specific author things. But they link together. You'll find me either way, uniquelyxtina.com or wherever.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. I do want to remind our listeners real quick, because I forgot to do it. Again, I forgot. Last week, with our "What if the continents rode on the back of giant creatures?" question, we put out a call for flash fiction entries. That will be open until Christmas Day, December 25th, so not too far after this. And if you want to submit to that, write something having to do with that topic, 1,000 words or less, and email it to us, whysouthisup@gmail.com, and we will pick a winner to come on the show, read their piece, play our games with us, and all of that fun stuff. Sound good?
I am so glad you remember stuff like that.
I didn't remember. I put it after the sign-offs.
You're still good.
The magic of editing. All right. So, that said...
Have a great holiday, everyone. Whatever you do.
Absolutely. Have a good holiday. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. All that good stuff. And we will see you guys next year.
Next year.
Moonshine. It just hit me in the sinuses. That was weird.